Many people joke about lawyers, especially using Shakespeare's line, first, let's kill all the lawyers, not understanding that Shakespeare was actually mocking the tyrants, because one of the first things tyrants do after or even at the same time as othering people so that ignorant people have someone to hate and unite in hatred for. Not only silencing journalists, they also go after lawyers. For example, lawyers in North Korea are not allowed to actually advocate for their clients. They're only allowed to carry the party line. They might be allowed to say something nice about their clients, but they're not allowed to defend their clients. In Iran, lawyers may advocate more ferociously for clients and for human rights, but they do so at the threat of life and limb, at the threat of arrest and death. And neutral magistrates like we have here, were replaced by religious folk, clerics, and priests, or ayatollahs. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge regime in Cambodia forced lawyers to flee or be killed. On January 30th, 1933, when Mustache Man was appointed chancellor in Germany, very shortly thereafter, the fire happened at the Parliament building, right? And it created a lot of panic. Mustache Man immediately blamed communists and Jews and gypsies and all of these people, othering all of these people, so that the average white, straight fascist would have people to hate in unity. The German president at the time decreed a national state of emergency so that he could now make laws by decree. That backfired on him because it wasn't long before the chancellor, Mustache Man, took over and displaced that president. It was that decreed state of emergency that gave power and legitimacy to everything that Mustache Man and his followers did thereafter. At the same time, they expanded police power because of the state of emergency so that people could be arrested on mere suspicion, not taken before any sort of judicial review board, no due process whatsoever. The police themselves could decide you're going to a concentration camp, or you know what, you're white and blue-eyed and wealthy, so we'll take you before the judges. Anyone who was deemed dangerous to Mustache Man's regime was taken into, quote, protective custody, and that was when they were transported to the camps. After that debacle, at the end of World War II, there were the Nuremberg trials, and the Nuremberg trials established once and for all that all people are entitled to be protection by an international criminal justice system. It established or reestablished the need for rule of law and fact-based decisions. It also showed that leaders, no matter how powerful they are, do have accountability to someone somewhere. So you can imagine how disturbing lawyers are finding this. The Republicans have introduced a bill, it's moving very quickly, that would sanction anyone who helped with the International Criminal Court. That would be lawyers, that would be witnesses, family members. They are trying to make it to where Americans cannot participate in this international accountability system. Last night, the acting attorney general, Bove, who represented the president in his criminal trials and lost 34 times. I don't know why you would appoint him to something with that kind of track record of losing, sent out a memo basically purging high-level officials from the FBI, asking for lists of agents' names who had worked on anything related to the January 6th cases or the Hamas cases from October 7th attack, okay? So apparently this administration is going to side with Hamas over our law enforcement. Now, to a certain extent, part of me is like, well, you get what you vote for, because overwhelmingly, police officers cheered for this administration's election, okay? However, what they're doing with this purge is letting everyone know you cannot investigate government or anyone attached to the government or anyone who is loyal to a particular government official, okay? So that's a problem. That's tyrannical, that's fascist, that's authoritarian. That is a major problem. I particularly found it concerning that the internal memo that went out to FBI people let them know, warned them, that all of these thousands of people who worked on these cases throughout the nation, I mean, we're talking gutting the FBI, that more than likely this administration will be releasing their names and firing them, which means that all of the people that were released for the treasonous insurrection, one of whom has already gotten himself killed by acting like a fool with law enforcement during a traffic stop, one of whom has already killed someone by drunk driving. This administration is going to give that loyalist militia that they just released from prison the names of all of these agents who worked on these cases throughout the nation, and then terminate them as federal employees. Not only that, they've already dismissed many as the lawyers who prosecuted those cases. When Mussolini came to power in Italy, he immediately curtailed lawyers' ability to practice law. When Stalin came to power in the Soviet Union, he also had what was called the Great Purge of lawyers, where many were arrested and executed in show trials. Like, they'd already decided they were going to execute them, but they did trials so that nobody could say they hadn't had trials. And then they executed the lawyers, because lawyers are your last line of defense. It's only with lawyers that a single individual can take a corporation to court for an injustice and win. It's only through a fair and impartial legal system, through lawyers who can practice without being afraid, and judges who aren't in someone's pocket, that two people in Georgia could take someone like Rudy Giuliani to court and end up with all of his stuff. Speaking of lawyers, I love following Kasim, and I wanted to show you this post because he said that people are frustrated that the Democrats are doing nothing, and that some people are messaging him and saying they'll never vote Democrat again. Well, that's a problem, because if the people who had voted third party had voted Democrat this time, we wouldn't be in this situation, okay? Because you need to remember, the Democrats can only do so much in our constitutional system, considering that the American people gave all of the branches of government to maggots. So I don't know what y'all are wanting them to do. They are speaking out. They are trying to educate us. What are you wanting them to do? Not voting is not an option next time, if we ever get to vote again.